Okay, today I want to welcome Craig Paxson. He is the founder and chief strategist of Visionary Horizons Consulting Group. He's also the co-author of the best-selling business book, Unstuck, 10 Proven Strategies for Breaking Through the Barriers to Small Business Growth. It helps you build the value of your startup or business. Craig helps privately held businesses create a strategy to win in their market, have a PSV. We're going to learn what PSV is, but to have a PSV business and execute that strategy one quarter at a time. A PSV business is profitable. It generates financial gain right now. It's sustainable. It will continue to generate financial gain in the future, and it's valuable. It can be sold for future financial gain. Well, Craig's done this before. He was the CEO of a local $8 million business while guiding the merger with several other firms. After the transition, Craig decided to help other business owners and executives grow the value of their businesses and prepare for transition or exit. Craig, welcome.
Thank you, Craig. Glad to be here.
This is going to get confusing with two Craigs, but hey,
Yes.
I'm sure that we have a smart audience. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
All right. So, wow, that's quite the thing. So let's break it down. I mean, it's kind of like if you have one sentence to kind of say, what you do, who you help, and how you help them, what would that be?
Yeah. So I'm going to help privately held businesses, small businesses, so less than 100 employees generally, uh, create and then execute a strategy. And what is strategy, right? Everybody and their brother says that they do strategy. And I always like to say that, most people, when they do strategic planning, it's long on planning and short on strategy. It ends up just being what do we want to look like in 5 years or 3 years? And then let's break it down into small steps. That's just a project plan. That's not strategy. So we help them create a strategy to win in the market, first of all, and then to get the business results that they desire. And then we teach them and help them execute that strategy one quarter at a time. So that is in a nutshell what we do.
Yeah, and help me figure that out a little bit more because, a lot of people, like you say, a lot of people use the term strategy. Could we do an example? Hey, you know what? If you're flexible, use me as a guinea pig, and
Okay.
we'll see what happens. So
Yeah.
I have a small business. I have a marketing agency, and we help people with high ticket sales. And while I'm not looking at an exit, obviously the day will come where I want to sell the business and get paid for it.
Right. Yep. So so there's two elements to this. And the first one is, how do you win in the market? So what is the market that you play in, right? Who are the people that you're going after? Who are your competitors? What does the market look like? And then how do you win in that market? So why do people choose Craig Andrews over somebody else in that particular market? So that's the first question that we want to answer here. So do you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So we're an inbound marketing agency that works with high ticket sellers. There's a lot of people like us that do that. The one thing that we do that's very unique and haven't found anybody else doing this is we help people build irresistible first time offers. It's a stupidly cheap offer that makes the high ticket offer come sooner and more sure at a higher price.
Okay.
And so let me just real quick, it's, you've seen loss leaders out there, for those who've been around the block a few times, remember Columbia House Records, 13 albums for a penny. Yep. That type of offer works for a simple, core offer. But what I discovered is with high ticket, those type of offers are completely useless. You need a complex loss leader to lead
Okay.
to a complex sale.
Yep. All right. So you've started to describe your value proposition, right? So who you're serving, who you're selling to, what you're selling, and then you kind of describe the pricing. So that's three elements of the six elements in the way that we describe a value proposition: the who you sell to, what you sell, and how it's priced. And pricing can be not just the amount, it can also be the frequency. Is it weekly, monthly? Is it one time? It can be the duration. Is it a one-time payment? Is it for a year? And it can be the timing. Is it paid before or after the sale? Um, so those are three elements. The other three elements is what I call the three whys. One is, why do people need this service at all? Right. So if we think about trucks, why does somebody need a truck? The second why is, why should they choose you over somebody else? That's differentiation. So we have need and differentiation. So why Ford versus Toyota or Dodge or Chevy? Make sure I name them all so I don't alienate any particular people who are one brand over the other. And then the third why is, why should we trust you? And that trust can come either from um, pre-trust of like social proof or things like that, or post-trust of a guarantee, right? You mentioned Columbia House Records, 13 records for a penny or whatever it was. So we're both old enough to remember the Domino's guarantee, 30 minutes or it's free. That's a trust guarantee, right? So we answer those three whys: need, differentiation, and trust. So let's throw it back to you. Why do people need your service? Why should they pick Craig Andrews versus somebody else? And then why should they trust you?
Okay. So why do they need it? For people who hate selling, um, we help them build an offer that does the selling so they don't have to resort to slimy sales techniques that make them uncomfortable. So that was the first why. What's the second why?
Differentiation. Why should they pick you versus a competitor?
So I've been looking and I legitimately can't find anybody else that's building these type of offers. A lot of people confuse us with Alex Hormozy, very, very smart guy. He goes straight to the high ticket. He skips the low ticket. So that's the differentiation. And then the third is why they should trust us.
Yep.
Because first I did it just to put food on the table because I'm one of those that's not good at sales. And I had to change something. But we also have testimonials where we've immediately doubled people's closing rates.
Awesome. And then do you offer any guarantees?
We do. We've started rolling out it's a guaranteed ROI in 1 quarter that basically the net new gross profit, and for those that aren't accountants, that means take what you expected in terms of gross profit, not gross revenue. Take what you expected and subtract from that your new gross profit. That the net new gross profit will pay for itself. We'll cover our fees within 1 quarter.
That's awesome. That's a great guarantee, right? So a guarantee is two things. It's a promise and it's a penalty, right? So I won't go into the penalties and all that kind of stuff, but that's what a promise is. So for the listeners who are thinking about this, every small business has a value proposition, whether it is explicitly stated or not, right? Whether it's, the lawnmower service or an HVAC company, a healthcare company, whatever it might be, every single business has a value proposition. A lot of them, it's just developed over time and they haven't really thought through those six questions, right? So that's the first step that we want to go through: is what is that value proposition? How do we win in the market?
Yeah, and so
This
let's summarize that because the guests don't know. I woke up yesterday morning in your fine city of Nashville and then drove all the way to Texas. I'm still in vacation mode. And I've already forgotten all six of those things. Can you run through those again?
Yep. So the value proposition is, who do we sell to? What do we sell? And what's the pricing? And then the three whys. Why do they need this product or service at all? The need. Why should they choose you versus a competitor versus somebody else? And then why should they trust you? including
Excellent.
any guarantees or promises that you have, right? So those are the 6 elements. Now, the cool thing is for your listeners, there's a PDF that I'll send to all of them. It's called the 15-minute strategic plan, and it runs through all of that stuff very quickly because that value proposition is key. If you can't win in the market, what ends up happening with a lot of small businesses is they win in the market for 2 reasons. One is the owner, usually the owner, is the rainmaker, and he just has tons of connections, right? He pounds the pavement, he has connections, he gets sales just simply through magnetic personality. What happens if he gets run over by a truck, right? Goes into the hospital for a while, sales disappear. The other way that a lot of small businesses compete is it's strictly on price, right? So it's just we're just competing with everybody else. We do the same thing as everybody else, and we're just competing on price. And we're going to keep customers because maybe we're good at what we do, but the reason we get customers is because we have a low price. And as Seth Godin says, the only thing worse than winning a race to the bottom is coming in second. So we don't want to compete on price. So having that value proposition and identifying what makes us different and what are our guarantees, why should people trust us, can completely turn that around. So now anybody can sell instead of just the owner. And there's not a competition. There's not this, we're competing solely on price, right? We can keep our prices higher because we have some other means for competition. And so that's the key for the value proposition.
Very cool. And I believe we have a link to that and we're going to include that in the show notes. But for anybody that's listening, and this will be in the show notes. It's at bit.ly/leaders-legacies. And for those that aren't familiar with bit.ly, it's a link shortener. So it's spelled bit.ly and then /leaders-legacies. And you'll get this. So let's talk about leadership. I mean, this is amazingly powerful stuff. And I can, totally see how you break it down, you make it simple for people to grow and build their business. How do you see yourself impacting lives?
Oh boy. The cool thing, that one of the things that I love about working with small business owners or entrepreneurs, and I'm a volunteer member, a mentor at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. So I get to work with a lot of either startups or micro businesses, is they have a passion for something, right? Whatever it is. People start their business for 2 reasons. One is just to put food on the table. The other one is because there's some big problem that they see. But even if it's in the I just need to put food on the table, they're choosing a particular business for a reason, right? They have an interest, a passion, and knowledge of that business. And watching entrepreneurs and small business owners who know everything about home health care or uh, lawn mowing, right? It doesn't matter. Um, watch helping them with all the business stuff, right? They know more about, they're a nurse, they know more about home health care than anybody, but they don't know how to run their business. And that's what they need the help with. And watching them learn how to manage and run their business and lead their employees is like it's the biggest thrill for me. Um, that's the thing that I love most. When I was CEO, I had these 4 young managers, and they each basically had a profit center, and the previous ownership didn't treat them like it was profit centers. They were just little order takers and stuff. And I developed them into profit center managers, and watching them grow into that role was the most fun that I had when I was CEO. That's the fun part, watching people grow. And now if a small business owner, and I'm probably talking way too much, it's what I do when I get in
No,
the role.
no, keep going.
When a small business owner can take the problem that they solve, what they're trying to do, and they can increase their impact in whatever business that they're in. I'm teaching them principles that are multiplied, who knows how many fold, tenfold, 100-fold in their particular business, right? That I would never be able to do on my own. And so that's pretty cool. To to watch I had a home healthcare client who just exited their business a few months ago, and to watch them grow as leaders over a year to prepare their business to exit, and the light bulbs come on, and then learn how to delegate stuff out and coach people up and hold people accountable in the right way and get their finances in order to prepare them for exit, and watch their business impact more people who had health problems in their home than they ever thought possible. I could never impact that many people, right? I'm just impacting a small team, and that small team, it's multiplying it out to who knows how many other patients. And that's the awesome part. Sorry, talk too long. That's what I
No,
do.
and I think that's one of the really cool things about consulting is when you come at it from the perspective of what are the lives I'm impacting? How am I changing people's lives? As a consultant, you put food on more tables than you ever could as just being in your own company.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
you're changing outcomes. You're sending more kids to college. You're creating more doctors. The ripple effects
Yep.
are just
Yep.
amazing.
Absolutely. Yep. It's shoot, 30 years ago or something, I was a a manager for a local printing company, and one of the young kids, he was only 19 years old, and he had a baby, and I gave him $100 bill, just, hey, go spend, do what you want. And he was just like, what the heck? And I was like, hey, when you're in the right position, you'll be able to do this for other people, right? About 5 or 6 years ago, I reconnected with him. I hadn't seen him for 15, 20 years. I reconnected with him, and he said, "You remember that $100 bill that you gave me?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "I've continued that tradition." He now owns his own small business. And he's like, "I'm giving $100 bills to all of my employees whenever some kind of thing like that with the same message. And they're doing it now to other people." And I'm like, holy, all I did was give the dude $100 bill and tell him he didn't have to pay me back. And now all of a sudden he's taken this and just made it even bigger, right? That's the leverage of some cool little, just some little act that you never think of can have so much leverage and impact across for people that you never meet, nothing, right? I mean, that's just like that gets me going, right? That gets me going.
Well, and that's what makes it easy to come into work.
Absolutely.
Do
Yep.
you ever run across somebody? Do you ever have somebody come in and they, as a potential client, as you're talking to them, you realize, and I'm going to use a technical term, they're a greedy bastard, and they're just trying to take. Do you run across those? And when you do, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I definitely run into situations where there's just not a good fit personality, um, desires. A, Part of me wants to say ethics, but I hesitate to say that anybody's being unethical. But there's just a mismatch between what I want to do and what they want to do, or how they're going to receive what I'm doing, right? And there's definitely a mismatch. And if I don't want to work with somebody who there's not that match, I want people to want to learn and get better, who want to impact other people, right? That's what I want. And if I run into a situation where the other person, the prospect, doesn't have that same mindset, I would prefer not to work with them, right? Even if it means that, yeah, I'm taking in a little bit less income. That's okay. The right kind of clients will come along who I will feel good about helping, who will receive what I'm doing, who will help grow their own business, who will impact their employees and their customers. And when those people come along, that makes all of the ones that you passed by more than worth it, for more than just money, right? Just watching that impact that you have. And so I mean, when I run into that bad fit, just tell them no. I mean, hey, this isn't going to work for us. It's a bad fit. Sorry. You go find somebody else. Here maybe a couple other people, or something else different that you can do to get the same things that you want out of it, but it's not going to be me.
Yeah, and that's so important, and I find for me, we were using me as an example. We build irresistible first time offers that lead to high ticket sales. What I found is for me to be able to find, and it's really helping them discover the offer. Um, but before they can discover the offer, I have to move them out of a sales mindset into a serving mindset. And once people get that servant's mindset, that servant's heart, I'm not saying they didn't have it before, but business owners have this insatiable desire to sell. And so for us to be effective, we have to kind of disrupt that for a short period of time to hear their true servant's heart. And when we do that, that's when amazing things happen.
Yeah.
And I would imagine
Yeah.
the same's for you. It's just it's it's hard to make somebody who's just a taker successful, because those are
Absolutely.
usually short-term gains.
Absolutely. Yep. I agree 100%. The flip side of that is for me, and I imagine a lot of your clients too, there's such a desire to give and serve. Sometimes we don't sell, right? We're giving and serving and they're having maybe some, light bulb go off and little nugget of success and that makes you feel good. And then you end up helping them and not actually selling anything to them. And so, that's a different mindset shift for people who care about the success of others. So how do you deal with that with your clients?
Yeah, I run into I run into a variety of people. Obviously, there's some people that overvalue what they do, but I think for the whole, most people undervalue what they're bringing into people's lives. And so like Craig, what's obvious to you is not obvious to the people you help. That's why you're valuable. And so I see people say, well, I shouldn't charge for that because this is just obvious. Like, no, it's obvious to you because you're the expert. And just because it's obvious to you doesn't mean it's valuable. Again, back to what you were talking about, the lives that you change. Think about how much you're changing somebody's life. I mean, for me, if it's somebody who hates selling, but because they're a business owner has to sell, it's it's a monumental change that we're bringing to their life. And even it's always them that come up with the deals. That's I don't know. That's the funny thing is they know their business better than I know the business. I just create the environment for them to see the thing they're missing.
Absolutely. Yep. That's
But that's
exactly what I
value,
do.
and like what you
Yep.
do, you bring value into people's lives.
Yep. The mindset shift that me and my business partner were driving to Knoxville for a meeting last week, and we were having this conversation and realized that the fees that I charge as a consultant are as much to enable me to live so that I can serve more clients, right? Like if I was giving all this advice and helping people with their problems for free, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, you know, um, I need to charge people money so that I can serve them. Otherwise, I'll be just working in a corporate job or flipping burgers at McDonald's, right? So having that mindset shift of I'm asking them for money so that they're allowing me to do what I do and serve them and serve others um was sort of an aha moment to have that thought process of why I charge people money when I get such joy out of just watching them get better with regardless of whether they're paying me or not.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I'll tell you what, let's see if we can wrap up with this. Was there a white knuckled moment where you feel like your leadership was put to the test? You had
Oh
to
my
make a
gosh.
decision, and it was scary. You weren't sure how it was going to work out, but you made a decision.
Wow. Yeah, when I became CEO, you know, and it was a small company, right? $8 million, only roughly 50 people. And earlier in my career, I managed, many, many, many more people than that with many, many, a much, much bigger budget. But I was not the CEO, right? The buck didn't stop with me. There was always a boss or several above me. Um, at one point in my career, I worked for IBM. I had, 150 people, and I was a profit center manager. But heck, there was who knows how many people before you got to the CEO, right? But I became CEO, and all of a sudden it was just me, right? And every decision that I made had a direct impact on the livelihood of the people who worked for me, right? If I made a bad decision and they suffered, that might affect their paycheck in the fact, and the way they can provide for their family. And that moment of realization from, if I screw up and make a really bad decision here and I have to let people go, or we're not producing and they don't get overtime, I have to rearrange the staff because now I made a bad decision and this product line is going down and I have to move somebody from one place to another place. I'm affecting their lives directly, and that was scary. I was like, holy, but I had to make decisions, right? You can't do nothing. You have to make decisions. And you know I had to let somebody go who had been there for quite a long time. Um i it was a little bit scary because that person had their hands in everything.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of people who were dependent on that person, but I knew it wasn't the right fit, so I had to let that person go. And it was a little scary because for a few minutes we were all like, what are we going to do now? But just like whenever that situation happens, you're always better off in the long run. So you just have to make the decision. um but that little white knuckle moment of, if I screw this up and this business goes under because of my decision, all of a sudden there's 50 people who are losing their jobs, not looking for work. And oh my God, Paxson, what are you going to do? Right. And it's scary. But you have to make the decision and do what you do, and
Now,
things
I'm
worked out.
assuming it
Let's
worked
just put it
out.
that way. It
Did
worked
did
out. It
the
worked out.
meteorite didn't hit the planet and blow
Mhm.
everything up?
Nope, it did not. And a year and a half later or so, we were merged with another couple companies, and it all worked out. It all worked out well.
Well, and that's such an important lesson. The the fallacy of believing that you have an irreplaceable employee, or team member, and there's so many sides of that. But thanks for sharing that story. Craig,
Absolutely.
thanks for coming on today. And so again, you have a resource. It's a 15-minute, how'd you call it again?
It's the 15-minute strategic plan. So it's a short PDF that will walk the user through how to create a value proposition that will win in the market, and then begin to execute that strategic plan. There, we didn't get very far into my whole planning process with this, but it will walk them through how to do that. So yeah, I'm excited to share it. It's a nice little PDF download, the 15-minute strategic plan that you can get at bit.ly, leaders dash legacies. And I'm excited to share it with everybody who's listening.
All right. And other than that, how do people reach you?
So they can go to vhconsultinggroup.com, and there's a button on there in the menu to click a discovery call. Click a discovery call. I'm happy to have a conversation.
Well, I love your heart for how you're changing many, many lives through the companies you consult. And I do hope people will reach out to you. Craig,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
Craig.
being
I
on
appreciate
Leaders
it.
and Legacies.
Thank you. This is awesome.